So the Borresen X1s have been with me for the last several weeks. I wanted to take my time, listen to them thoroughly, let the new speaker excitement wear off, and see if I still feel the same about them after all these weeks and pretty much daily listening as well as comparing. Now, these Borresen X1s came to me from Next Level HiFi in Wayne, Illinois. I've been to their shop. It's absolutely gorgeous, and they sell the entire Audio Group of Denmark line of products, including the X1s. This is the place if you want to order some X1s, but I want to thank them for sending out the review units to me to check out. So let's get to this review. When I was in their store a couple of years ago, I didn't know much about Borresen or Addictive or all these brands under the Audio Group of Denmark umbrella, right? And I asked the guy at the store, I said, out of all the lines you sell, what is your absolute favorite brand? And he said, oh, without question, Audio Group of Denmark stuff, Borresen speakers. And he was really excited about the Borresen speakers, and they had a set playing and they had all the models there. And I thought they looked extremely beautiful, but I know they were also extremely expensive. This is before the X line came out, before the Access line came out. Now, not too long ago, I reviewed Audio Group of Denmark's Access Forte 1 integrated amplifier. And that is an amplifier that is meant to bring super high-end quality in a mid-tier price. And I talked all about that integrated amplifier in that review. And these X1 speakers from Borresen are really a perfect mate to that amp. As a matter of fact, Next Level sells them as a package, or at least they sell the X2 and X3. I don't know if they have the X1 on their website yet. So Audio Group of Denmark, I applaud them for releasing these more affordable lines, like the Access line that gives it more access to more people, right? Lower price point, but the same kind of quality, all that trickle-down quality they have. The X1s are exactly just that. Trickle-down technology from their M1s, which are $100,000 a pair. Now, I did hear those M1s one time in life for a very short time, and I was entranced by them, but I knew mentally there's no way I would ever pay $100 grand for speakers because I don't have $100 grand to pay for speakers. Those of you who do, more power to you. They are a beautiful set of amazing hi-fi speakers. Now, the X1s are right up my alley. They're $5,500. Let's just say under $7K with stands, and they give a huge, heaping, helping dose of that Borresen sound, right? So these speakers are made in-house by Borresen from the tweeter, which is the Borresen tweeter. I'll talk about that in a minute, that tweeter. This ribbon tweeter is very revealing, but it does something very, very cool. I'll talk about that in a minute. As a package, as a style, to me, they're a little industrial, a little modern. The style's not going to be to everyone's tastes. For example, my wife Debbie loves the sound of the X1s, but she's not the biggest fan of the looks, right? So if you love the looks, I'm going to tell you that you're going to be happy as a clam with these because the sound is quite remarkable. Now, the speakers bolt on to the stand, which I love. I love when a speaker and stand combo bolt together because that means they're not going to accidentally fall off the stand. I've actually had that happen twice in life where I accidentally bumped into the speaker as I was adjusting the amp and my elbow knocked the speaker right off and cracked it. So these speakers bolt onto these stands, and these stands are works of art. They look like they're sculpted from metal. So again, stands, in my opinion, are mandatory. Once you bolt the speakers to the stands, these speakers, I've tried various setups in the room. I tried positioning them 6 feet apart, 5 feet apart, 8 feet apart, towed in dramatically, towed in slightly, pointing straight into the room. Now, Borresen says these speakers, the X1s, like to be placed wide with a pretty good toe in, and that's exactly where they ended up in my room. You know, turning it on once they're set up and you're in your sweet spot, you hear all of that stuff we talk about, the extreme. These are the most three-dimensional speakers I've had in this room. They best the Fleetwood DeVilles, they best the Dynaudio Heritage Specials, they best the closer acoustic Augie and Bob combo for three-dimensional holographic imaging. The X1s are beefy, they're plump, they're punchy, they're not ever lean or analytical in any way, except you do get gobs and gobs of detail. And I love it because you get those inner hidden details that kind of pop out into space and then they dissipate. It's crazy what these sound like with well-recorded music. So the presentation with the right music, of course, is extraordinary, unheard of for this kind of money. Now, I've had speakers, again, in the $20,000, $30,000 range that were bookshelf. My old Sonus Faber Guarneri Evolutions, I think those retailed at $24,000, $25,000, and I owned a pair and I loved them to death. I still have memories of that speaker. They were warm, plump, juicy, holographic, and just beautiful, right? Fat, that's the word I want to use, fat. Now, the X1s are not fat, but they offer that mid-bass fullness, so the music doesn't ever sound lean or tonally bleached. That tweeter, the ribbon tweeter from Borresen, is absolute magic. It's, again, trickle down from the top models, and it really has a way of producing these inner details and the standout details, just like in the air, in space, as if they're appearing and dissolving in space. The tweeter here I actually like better than the beryllium tweeter in the Focal Diablos I had, which sounded a little harder to me. There's nothing hard about the X1s unless you're powering them with the wrong amp. The mid-range is big, effortless. Voices are haunting, and I mean haunting. There were 2 occasions listening to these. The hairs on my arms stood up and goosebumps popped up when I was listening to Melody Gardot. I think it was If You Love Me. Now, some of you know this song. I've played this song with every system to judge vocals, one of the many songs I play, but I swear she was right in the room with me, and those instruments were just floating in space to the left and right, and she was coming out dead center. I close my eyes, I lean back a little bit, and I start to become in the performance. It's absolutely incredible at this price point. Now, can it get better? Yeah, Borresen sells their 100K M1s. I'm sure it can get better. But for 55, under 7,000, because the stands are mandatory, I can't think of a speaker that gives you this kind of performance or build quality, right? Let's take a look at the Dynaudio Heritage Specials that I love and raved about 2-3 years ago. Those are $7,000 speakers, about the same cost as the X1s, but the X1s do so much more, and they do it kind of more beautifully. Now, some of you may prefer the Dynaudio punch and thick sound, and that tweeter on the Heritage Specials is superb, but the X1s are taking it up another level. So they come in black gloss or white gloss. Now, I believe these are 86 dB efficient. AGD, Borresen recommends a 50 watt per channel or greater amplifier. I'll talk about the amps I used to test these with and how they sounded with various amps in a second. And they come in at around 50 or so pounds, 53, 54 pounds. So they're not 100-pound monsters. They're easy to maneuver around the room, which I like. And being bolted to the stand, as I said, makes them easy to experiment with placement within your space. Now, I tested these speakers with a variety of amplifiers. Integrated amplifiers, all-in-one amplifiers, as well as separates. Let's start off with the Access Forte 1 because I believe these speakers are meant to go with this integrated amp. This is an amp I reviewed not too long ago. You can go back and check it out. But it has a streamer, it has a 1-bit DAC, and it has a 100 watt per channel Class D amp, all in one beautifully designed modern package. Comes with a remote control. This amp is kind of electric sounding. It's a little bit fast sounding. It's not hefty in the bass. It's about detail, giving you everything that's in the recording, as well as creating or helping to create with the speakers that holographic soundstage. It is a perfect match to the X1s. If I were to buy the X1s, I would keep that Forte 1 with them personally. But it's not the only amp that sounds remarkable with these speakers. I also tested it with the Yamaha RN2000A that I recently reviewed, and they became a little bit warmer and punchier in the mids, but it lost a little bit of that sparkle because the 2000A, as I'm discovering, has a little roll-off in the treble. I tested it with the Yamaha AS3200, the flagship Yamaha analog integrated amp. I use the HiFi Rose RS130 for streaming, as well as the brand new Lave Harmony DAC. And wow, that was an incredible combo, is an incredible combo. That's actually what's hooked up right now. So spatial, so much beautiful energy that comes through. It's a little more subdued than the Forte 1 in the details and the way it produces the music, the Yamaha's a little recessed, like you're watching a concert and watching the stage, where the Forte is more just about that getting everything out to you in a forward way. So the X1s with the Yamaha AS3200 was a beautiful experience. One of those never fatiguing kind of deals, but again, it's not as dynamic as the Forte one with the X1s. But as far as which I like better, it's kind of a tie for me. I'm really digging this AS3200 from Yamaha. I also tested it with a Passlabs XP12 preamp going into a Galleon TSA 75 amplifier, which is a beautiful 75 watt per channel solid state amp for $1,500. Now, what did this sound like? In this configuration, it almost sounded a lot more like the Access Forte 1. More of the details, the treble was a little more aggressive and airy, but it was still a beautiful sound. Nothing was aggressive at all. And that's what I love about these speakers. No matter what amp I put into it, they sounded really, really good. They can sound from excellent to otherworldly. I even plugged in the little $300 WIM amp and used that as the streamer DAC and amp. And what do you know? I was kicking and rocking to some music. But you lose a lot of those details. You lose a lot of what that speaker is made to give to you. So the better you treat the speakers when it comes to power, source, DAC, all of that, the better. The Forte 1 has its built-in streamer and DAC, and they sound excellent with the X1s. You really wouldn't need any more than a Forte 1, 2, or 3 and the X1s, a set of speaker cables, and you can consider it done unless you want to add a turntable. What else can I tell you about these speakers? They like to be placed wide. They like toe-in. You don't have to have a lot of power. I also tested them with the Brunoco Terra tube amp. Now, this amp puts out 30 watts per channel. I have deemed it probably the finest tube integrated I've ever had when it comes to style. I love the style of it. It might be a personal preference thing. I love the looks, but the sound is remarkable. It's a little crispy up top in a good way. A lot of mid-bass and presence, but it stays clean and impactful. And the low end is fantastic as well. So that amp, only being 30 watts per channel, was blowing me out of the room with the X1s. So every amp I tried with it, they were musical. They were a bit on the spatial side, giving you those details that come out into space. And it's probably the finest, best speaker I've heard that does this kind of thing, the soundstage and imaging. They are champs at it. I'm sure the X2 and the X3, the larger speakers, excel at this as well. But being a bookshelf, bookshelves have an easier time of disappearing into the room, and these disappear with absolute ease. The only time they weren't fully vanished, if I close my eyes, where I'm like, where's that coming from, was when I used the WIM amp. They were a little more direct in sound, but they still sounded very, very, very nice. So let's wrap this up. Who are these for? These are for someone who wants a high-end speaker that delivers all the wow and pizzazz, right? For not that $20, $25, even $15,000 price point. This is a fraction of the cost of what most high-end speakers that can do these things and look like this and have the build quality like this. This is way lower in price, like a third of the cost of most speakers that do this. This is an outstanding value, and it's hard to say something at around $7,000 is a value, but when you look at the competition to these speakers, everything that it gets close to costs $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. So that's what makes these an extreme value. The bass is kicking on these. It says they go down to 50 hertz and up to 50 kilohertz. But I'm telling you, I'm hearing bass in here that sounds like it's going down into the 40s, lower 40s. So I think that may depend on your room and how you position them, because in here, you don't need a subwoofer with the X1s. I wouldn't want a subwoofer with the X1s personally in this room because I have a small space and these speakers pressurize the room effortlessly. And that's another key word that I want to use about these, effortless. They have an effortless way of projecting music into the room. You just turn that volume up a little bit and they start to do that magic act of just filling your space with music. You turn it up midpoint and they sound beautiful. These are not speakers that are going to sound bleached or thin when you turn down the volume. They still have a very magical, big sound. So yeah, I've loved quite a few speakers that have come through here. I've hated quite a few speakers that have come through here. Those are the ones I don't talk about or review. They get sent back. But these are the best value speakers if you want a high-end sound. If you want that detailed 3D imaging, where all of that stuff happens that I talk about here and others have talked about in the listening experience, if you want to set up a sweet spot for your system where you or you and a loved one can sit together and get the experience, dive within the music, right? These speakers will do that for you. These deliver an experience and they do connect with you emotionally. I will warn you though, they are very addictive speakers. I had a hard time, and this happens with gear from time to time. I have a hard time turning it off when these are on. They are absolutely non-fatiguing in any way, and they're just an all-out beautiful speaker for a great price. Again, they are expensive. Some people will say $7,000. That's not cheap or affordable. No, I agree, but it is in the big picture. If you look at the big picture, the competition to these costs much more. So I applaud Borresen, I applaud Audio Group of Denmark for creating a high-end audiophile type of system that sounds absolutely magical and remarkable and way above its price point. I applaud them for doing that because it will, as they hoped, bring a lot more people into the high-end audio realm so they can experience for themselves that magic that happens when everything is just right. And if you pair them with the Forte 1 amp, everything will be just right because I believe they were designed to go together. They are a perfect mate, like soulmates coming together. I'll throw a link in the description to Next Level HiFi. They did not pay me for this review. They did not give me free product for this review. I'm doing this review because I think these are a remarkable value, and I think you guys watching this need to know about them because I'll just say it like this. I can't afford to buy these. You know, we just had the tax day, IRS day, so the tax man got all my money. But if I could buy these, I would buy them in a nanosecond. I bought a lot of speakers in life, but these, there's something really special about them. And the fact that they're bookshelves, which are my favorite type, the fact that the quality of the build is so remarkable, the quality of the sound is out of this world, insanely good, and they're affordable for what you're getting. So all in all, I am deeply impressed with the X1s. Makes me want to hear the X2s actually in here, but maybe that'll be for another day. I think Borresen are pretty back-ordered on all of the X speakers, maybe even the Access line of amps. I'm not sure. You'd have to give them a call over at Next Level HiFi. They're great people over there. And if you're in that area of Wayne, Illinois, it's a beautiful shop. I just love the way they did it. Everything looks great over there, and you can hear all of this equipment before you purchase, and that's always recommended before you jump into any gear buying. So lots to come. Hit that subscribe button that keeps this channel going. Make sure the notifications are on so when I upload, you see the video and get notified of it. So I'll stop blabbing, and I'll see you in the next one. X1s all the way, 2 thumbs up. If I gave a number rating, 9.8 out of 10. Awesome speakers. Can't go wrong. You're not going to dislike them unless you don't like the looks. So yeah, I'll see you guys later.